When first opening up Unity, you're going to open up the Unity Hub, and this is where you're going to create your projects, where you can see your installs, where you have access to learning and the community and everything. It also shows up all of your previous projects that you have started in Unity. And so here we can open up a previous project that we started. We can create a new project, which is what we are going to start. It also shows you any of your installs that you have. So if you have several different installs that you've worked on and you've installed a new version of Unity to see kind of what new has came out, this is where it's going to show you all of the different installs that you have on your computer. So here we're going to click on New, and for us we're going to use the HDRP 3D template. If this is your first time, you may need to download it. So like for me, if I wanted to do a 3D mobile game, then I would need to download this template. So you may need to do the exact same thing for this one. Download it. Here you can set up and name your project. So here we're going to do Maze. This is where it is going to be saved at on your project. You can change this location as well. Once you do that, then go ahead and click Create Project, and that will start the process of creating your project. Once your project starts up, this is what you should see. This is our blank project. Over here, we have what is actually in our main screen. Down here at the very bottom, we have all of our assets for our project in general. So we may have several different scenes going on, but down here, this is where all of our assets, all of our scenes are saved. Everything for this particular saved project is located at. Over here on the right, you're going to have several different things. Anything we select, we'll have the inspector panel over here. You can add other panels such as lighting that I have added previously, and it kind of stays in the project unless you change it again. Up here we have our scene, we have our package manager, and then we have the actual game and how our game looks. And so we'll be switching between scene and game as we kind of fine-tune everything, the camera and all of that. The first thing we're going to do is set up our land. So over here, you can do this by going to several different things. We can come up here to the game object and going to 3D object and terrain. You can also right click over here in your hierarchy, go down to 3D object and click terrain as well. Over in our scene, if you click down on the middle scroll wheel, you can pan back and forth. The right mouse key allows you to rotate your mouse around, and then you can scroll your mouse back and forward in order to zoom in and out. Once you have selected your terrain, you will see that the inspector panel has changed for our terrain, and now all the settings for our terrain is there and we can actually see it. So one of the first things that I want to do is I want to shrink my terrain down a bit. So I'm going to select my terrain settings, which is this last far right one. And there's a whole lot of options that you can see, all different settings and everything from tree details to wind, all of that. We're going to go down here to where it says terrain width, down under mesh resolution, and I'm going to change this to 250. And as I type that in, you'll see that it has shrunk my terrain considerably. So I just wanted it a little bit smaller so I'm not dealing with all of that land, especially since this is just setting up our little project for a house, a shed, or a little maze, anything like that. If we ever need more of it, we can always create more terrain later on. The next thing we're going to do, again, I'm going to, if you can press down on the middle scroll wheel to pan back and forth, you can use the right arrow key or right mouse key in order to rotate your screen, and you can zoom in and out using the scroll wheel. So get your screen looking just kind of like this, and we're going to select this paint terrain. And with the paint terrain, if you select the down arrow right here, we have several different things we can do. We can set the height, we can paint holes in our terrain, we can raise, lower the terrain, and smooth and paint texture. So I'm going to raise and lower the terrain. You can select different brushes. You can kind of play around with these brushes how you want to. But I want something that's kind of soft, just a few hills, something like that. So I'm going to select this brush, and this is kind of what it looks like. The brush size, you're going to get one that is kind of what you want. So I want it something like this. Opacity, you're going to always kind of leave it really low. If you even get it slightly high, it's going to raise it really fast. So it's always best to go softer. And again, if you do mess up and it doesn't get what you want, just do Control Z in order to step back. So I'm going to have a flat piece here towards the center, and so on the ends I'm going to go around and elevate these up just a little. So we'll do something like that. So once you are happy with all of that, and again, if you don't look over here, you can left click will rise, holding down the shift key and left clicking will lower. So if I wanted this to be lower here in the center, let's kind of lower my brush size down a little, hold that shift key, and that lowers it down. Next, we can paint our texture. The issue right now is that we don't really have any textures in our project. So to get around this, let's go and start installing some of the things that we need in order to make our project successful. So this is going to be some generic textures, some we can put in trees. We're also going to put in a first-person character in our project. So we've created our terrain, but now what? We don't have any textures in our project, and we wanted to be able to bring in our Sketchup project or Revit project in here and walk around everything, but we don't have any first-person character either. And so what you want to do is go over here to the package manager. If it's not here, you can always find it underneath your windows. Go in here to your package manager. These are your assets from your Unity store that you've already gotten. And this is a shortcut for the asset store. So this is where we'll go here in a minute. But let's take a look at the package manager first. And so here under the package manager, you'll see all of the different packages that are in your Unity project currently. So we started up a high definition RP project, so we have already installed those into our project. Here under Unity Registry, we can install different features. For example, if you're doing world building, you probably want this one because this brings in Pro Builder, Polybrush, terrain tools, all of that. If you're making a mobile device or mobile game, then this is something that you would do. So this brings in some Android things, some mobile notifications, all of that kind of stuff. And then if you're wanting just specific things, you can go through here and find things that you want. Again, your My Assets, this is stuff that you've already downloaded previously from the Unity store. And these are things that are built into the project. So for us, we're going to go over here to Window and Asset Store, and let's take a look at some of the things that we want to find first. So to begin with, let's look at some top free and there's a few that we want to get. So first we want to do is we're going to search for mini. And once you search for mini, you're going to find this one. So if we select this little mini first person controller, here you'll be able to select this. If you downloaded it before, you'll see open in Unity. If you haven't downloaded it, you should see something like, well, not by now, but you'll be able to download this into your Unity. So this is what we're going to use for our first person controller. Another one that we're going to use for are some basic textures. Another one that we're going to do is we're going to search for terrain sample. And you're going to see a whole bunch of ones that are expensive and all of that, and we're not doing any of that. We're simply going to be on the right side. You see pricing, lower all that down to 0 to 0, or you can check the free assets. And so here we're going to select this terrain sample asset pack from Unity. So select that, and you see over here where you can download it, or if you've already downloaded it before, you can open up in Unity. So once you have done both of those, let's go ahead and go back to our project and actually install those into our project. So over here, again, in our package manager, Window, Package Manager, go down here to My Assets. You should see anything that you've already had, but for us is going to be this mini first person controller. You're going to import, you may need to download it first. You'll get this pop up. You're going to leave everything default and you'll click import. You'll let that run, and then once that's done, let's going to do the exact same thing for terrain sample asset pack. So download it, you'll let that download, and then we're going to install that after that downloads. And once that's downloaded, you can go ahead and select import. That's going to import it just like you did before. And so this is the steps to import anything that you want for your project. And so we're going to start with those two first. We're going to get all of that done out of the way and kind of really get our project going. If you get any of these issues, you're going to want to install an upgrade. If you don't, you're going to run into issues later on with something just not working. So always install an upgrade that will fix any kind of issues that you're going to have coming up because you've installed whatever it was that you installed. But once we have this, we're going to go back to our project. You can see down here in your assets how everything that's coming in. Here is our mini first person controller. We have our outdoor scene, and once this is done, we'll have our terrain sample asset pack as well. So this is everything that is in our terrain sample asset pack. So lots of different things. Let's go ahead and import all of that. And once that's done, let's go back over here to our scene. Let's go ahead and select our terrain. And let's go ahead and edit our terrain layers. And we're going to create a layer. And your first texture is going to put your texture everywhere. So we want something that is generic, grass, something like that, that covers everything. And then you can go back in there later on and put fine-tune things. So I can put some rock textures, mud, whatever it is that you're going to put in there. So I'm going to just find a grass texture that I like. So let's do this one. I'm going to double click, and here is all of our grass texture. You can come in here and do another one. So let's do this black sand. You can find something that you want. With the second one, it didn't paint anywhere. So now we have the opportunity to come in here and add some things. So what we can do is we can also select normal maps. So this one right here was this grass A. So right here is the grass A normal map. So I'm going to select that. And what the normal map does is it adds a little bit of depth to your texture. And so if you have it, you always want to put in that normal map for whatever it is that you're doing it. So now we added that, we can come in here to find your brush. You can set your size of your brush, and you can set your opacity, and you can come in here and just paint that texture with wherever you want to. Okay, so that's how your textures work. Next, let's go ahead and add in our little person so we can walk around our area. Down here are assets. You can go down into our mini first person controller, take our first person controller, and we're simply going to drag and drop it into our terrain, somewhere wherever you want it to be. Here, we're going to go and we're going to turn off our main camera. You can't have multiple cameras in your project. You can only have one or one active. And so we're going to make sure that we use this first person camera that's already attached to our first person controller. Now that we put our first person controller in there, now if we select over on our game, this is what we see now. And so if we want our first person controller to be seeing something else, we can always change where it starts at, the view, and all of that. But let's go ahead and just select the play. And we can move around our game area. You can hit your space bar to jump and your shift key in order to run. One thing to remember, any kind of changes that you make while you're in the game does not affect your project. So if you are wanting to make some minor changes like change his view, then you'll need to make sure you stop playing, come over to our scene and change it. So let's come in here, select our person. Over here in our rotate, I can actually select the game and hover over the Y rotation, and I can move my mouse around to change his position of where he looks. So again, I'm just selecting that Y and clicking down and moving left or right, or you can just type in what you want the number to be. Same thing if you're looking up or down, but again, this is going to be a little maze, your potting shed, something like that, so this is where we'll be. Okay, so let's stop there. We've done a lot with this project already, but in our next one, let's go ahead and bring in our SketchUp project and actually make our little visualization.